joining us now. MSNBC Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Dilanian, former Assistant Attorney General who led the Justice Department's Criminal Division, Leslie Caldwell, former advisor to George W. Bush and John McCain, and creator of The Circus, Mark McKinnon, and former Deputy Assistant Attorney General and former lawyer for George W. Bush, Tom Dupree. An ignominious list indeed, Ken. Why is Ty Cobb saying Pam Bondi should be at the top of it?
Well, you know what's so interesting about that clip you just played, Katie, is that those indictments were handed down during the Nixon administration. Richard Nixon was still president. He didn't resign until August. And it just shows you what a different world we're living in right now, because even then, even as he was trying to preserve his viability and stay in office, he knew, because there was still a sense of shame in politics and there was still a public opinion, sort of one truth that people who watched the nightly news agreed to. He knew that he had to satisfy the public. There clearly was a scandal. People clearly committed misconduct. And so the Justice Department was indicting these people. That would never happen in the Trump administration. It's very clear because we have, for example, evidence that Tom Homan and the Borders Czar accepted $50,000 in cash. There was a bribery investigation. That investigation is gone now. No one I talked to inside the FBI or the DOJ could imagine any kind of charge of misconduct or corruption being brought by this Justice Department against currently serving officials in the Trump administration. So, in a sense, this is a much worse situation than we found ourselves with John Mitchell and in Watergate, because even then there was some distance between Richard Nixon and the FBI, Richard Nixon and the DOJ. There is no distance right now. The White House is clearly calling the shots. They're deciding who gets prosecuted and who doesn't get prosecuted. And Pam Bondi is a cheerleader for the president, going on, standing in front of the Senate and defending everything he does and lobbing personal attacks at senators who ask her basic oversight questions. So that's why Ty Cobb made that point, and it's actually arguably worse than back then.
Tom, do you agree?
Well, I would say the judgment of history, I think, will show that Pam Bondi broke from the tradition of her predecessors in not trusting the judgment of career prosecutors and deciding who to charge and following and accepting directives from the president. All of that is fairly unusual, if not unique, in our nation's history. I think that one thing we have seen in this Justice Department, and this is, consistent from day one, is that there's been a total repudiation of the norms that have governed prior Justice Departments in terms of the separation of the prosecutorial function from the White House, in terms of, an interest in pursuing the president's political opponents, that sort of thing. So we are in totally different territory. I was somewhat amused to see Alberto Gonzales, my former boss, up there with other attorney generals, who was up there because he had fired several U.S. attorneys for political reasons, which today in this world seems almost a quaint reason for criticizing him, but that's where we are today.
Yeah, and we've done a whole show where we highlighted those firings and the reaction to it, and George W. Bush trying to explain it and what a scandal it was in the moment and how it compares to now, which, as you said, is quaint. Leslie, let's talk about the charges here against Letitia James. Are these charges that you would have brought?
Based on what I know about the case, absolutely not. There are two components to deciding whether to charge a case as a prosecutor. One is, what's your evidence, and are you likely to be able to prove your case beyond a reasonable doubt? And the second component is prosecutorial discretion. So should you bring this case? This is a case that alleges a very small bank fraud. If it's assuming that it's alleged correctly, which I'm not assuming, that at worst there was a very insignificant bank fraud that nobody really lost any money from. According to the indictment, Letitia James just avoided having to pay about $18,000+ over the entire life of the loan. That case would not be brought. Really.
Why not?
Because it's too insignificant and prosecutors have limited resources. And if you're spending your time on an $18,000 bank fraud case, you don't have your time or your resources to spend on the $180 million bank fraud cases, of which there are plenty.
She alleges in her own paperwork that there are emails, there's other documents that say that she was very clear about this not being a primary residence.
Yes, I've seen those.
Does that pose a problem?
I think it poses a huge problem because although this indictment on its face, not knowing who she is or all the noise that surrounded it, looks more like a normal indictment than the Comey indictment, for example. But I think that
What do you mean more normal than the Comey?
It lays out some background information, and it lays out the conduct that she supposedly engaged in more detail. It's by no means a lengthy indictment, obviously, but it's it's easier to glean what the actual accusations are than in the Comey indictment.
I'm curious, and I'm not expecting you to have these facts at your hand, but I would love to have somebody to research just how many times in our history anybody's been indicted for this level of fraud in the Justice Department.
I think you know a little bit about that.
Yeah, I would bet that the answer would be never. But I don't know that for sure. I could see a scenario where somebody's indicted for a more serious crime or another crime, and this might be thrown in as an additional count. Let's say there's a big financial fraud, and they would add, you knew about this also, so you might throw this in. But in a case where it seems like, I think we would have heard if this is not the case, the mortgage payments are being made. She said that it was not her permanent residence. She also said that, contrary to what's been discussed about the indictment, she didn't say she was renting it to any stranger. Her niece would be living there, and she expressly told the mortgage originator that.
It looks like a miniature version of the indictment and the case against Donald Trump and the mortgage fraud that she accused him and got a sizable judgment against him for. That judgment was diminished significantly, but at the time there was a question about whether the case should go forward among critics, saying that the harm wasn't there. The banks weren't upset. They didn't lose money. That nobody was harmed. So to bring this case against Donald Trump, the accusation was from critics and even from people who didn't like Donald Trump but were worried that this was not a case that should be brought, that it was something that felt a little politically motivated on Tish James's part. This is the criticism, especially because she ran on going after Trump. So there are people that are going to argue tit for tat. I'm not saying it makes it okay, but they're going to make that argument.
Sure, and I think that's a fair criticism. But on the other hand, if that's the criticism, and that was your criticism if you're Donald Trump at the time, is the way to handle that to do the same exact thing once you're in office?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also you used the word mini. I mean, this is more like micro.
Well, and also, isn't there in some sort of criminal intent as part of it?
Yes, I mean, they would have to prove
to defraud.
They would have to prove that she knew she was not telling the truth and she was making the false statement for the purpose of benefiting, I guess, from a lower mortgage rate, and that she intended to do that. And I think that would be, those cases are always hard, but I think that plus the political aura makes.
Let's go back to the big picture here, because I think that is important. Ken, you laid it out so well. I mean, you mentioned Tom Homan not being prosecuted, the investigation being dropped, even though there was that reporting that you've done about the $50,000 bribe. We haven't gotten any answers on that regarding whether he still has that cash, right?
That's correct. And Pam Bondi was asked several times under oath in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee that very question and other questions about that investigation. She refused to answer any of them, even though this is a closed case. And so she could certainly talk about some aspects of it, especially because no charges were filed. As far as I know, it never went before a grand jury. This was just a series of investigative steps taken by the FBI. So we don't know, where is the money? Did Tom Homan keep, this was taxpayer money after all. Did he pay taxes on it as income? We don't have answers to that those questions. Pam Bondi is declining to answer them. She's also declining to release any of the records and the documents that might shed some light on that.
So, Tom, what might you be worried that DOJ is not going after right now?
Well, the concern is that they're doing what President Trump, repeatedly said on the campaign trail the Biden administration was doing, which is to say weaponizing the Justice Department to punish the enemies and reward the friends. And so that would be the concern, that, within the Justice Department, that there are people who look at these evidentiary records and say this warrants bringing charges against Tish James, where there are other individuals who potentially could be subject to charges, and they say, we're not going to bring those charges. Look, I think from the Trump administration's perspective, the best way that you can portray the indictment of Tish James is to say that it serves the interests of cosmic justice, that Tish James campaigned on a platform of going after President Trump. She brought charges based on real estate fraud, based on alleged false statements and loan documents that enabled him to get a better rate. And he has done the exact same thing to her, albeit, I totally agree, on a vastly, vastly smaller scale. But I think that's really the only way you can legitimize this indictment. If you look at this through the lens of a cynical prosecutor, you say this is a weak case. It's not one the Justice Department would normally bring. But again, if you're defending the indictment, you say it serves the interest of cosmic justice and that it does exactly to Tish James what she did to President Trump.
How much cosmic justice are we going to be in for, though? I mean, you have Tish James, you have James Comey, Adam Schiff is preparing himself. We have that whole list that we just put up in a graphic right there. Fani Willis, anybody who went after Donald Trump or went after the actions that he undertook in the aftermath of trying to claim the election was stolen when it was not, or people who tried to shed light on what his White House was like, including John Bolton or Christopher Krebs saying the election was free and it was fair and it was safe and secure. I mean, all of these people, I mean, cosmic justice for telling the truth in some of these cases?
Yeah, and you know it's an endless list. I mean, where would it end with Donald Trump? And so I think the Department of Justice is going to be awfully busy just taking care of its retribution list.
How do they want to be doing that? I mean, are you going to see more career prosecutors quit or?
I think, yes, I do think a lot of people are going to quit if this continues, and many have already quit and are
So
have their
what happens
resumes
to
out.
DOJ in the future?
Well, that's going to be the million-dollar question, right? Does DOJ ever get back to being an integrity-driven, evidence and fact-driven, law-driven organization, or is it just going to become a political arm of the White House?
Can we go back to the Tom Homan situation?
Sure.
That's just like your view on that and how that all went down, and just from a DOJ perspective from your chair.
So all I know, obviously, is what I've seen and reported. But if he actually took the money, I haven't obviously listened to the tapes that the FBI agents apparently made. So I don't know if there's something on there like, if Trump gets reelected, I'll help you with X, Y, or Z contracts. So I don't know the evidence, but certainly taking the money itself is something that is completely inappropriate.
Why is there not a clear answer of whether he has it?
So I think I haven't heard a justification because I don't think that the department has given one by why they're not talking about this. But I think they could fall back on no case was brought. This was subject to confidentiality, and there's no reason to discuss it now since the case is closed.